Welcome to the Lodge. You've accessed
the Lodgecast experience.
Warning, warning, dangerous spoilers ahead. Enjoy.
We're going to be hitting those summer months where the hot takes are going to be sweltering takes.
Sizzling.
We are in the Prius, Bishke's Prius. We have the air conditioning on, so apologies for any unsightly or unsoundly winds.
Sound interference.
But we need it to survive and to bring you this. We're going to get to the bottom of Solo today. Nobody else on the internet has even touched this subject. No. We are the first. We are the dead. We are the dead last to actually be talking about this.
We've been sitting on it for a week.
We've been sitting on it. It's lukewarm, but we're going to give it to you. We have in the Prius, as always, Brother Bishke.
Hi, guys.
And Brother Lucas.
Never tell me the odds.
And today, resident Star Wars guru, Brother Justin.
But I was going into Tashi Station to pick up some power converters.
That is exactly correct. You were the only guest that could ever be on this episode. And we're not even going to talk about the plot because you all should have seen Solo by now. I mean, come on. It's a Star Wars story.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
it flopped. It did flop.
What are you going to do, not see it?
Yeah,
and then, of course, a bunch of people did not see it.
Right.
So
yeah, it's the low. It's what is it?
It dropped 78% the second week. It's going to barely clear 200 million domestic. They might not make sequels to this, even
they
though
might not make money from this.
That was their intent.
That's exactly what I was looking for. Thank you so much.
And Kathleen Kennedy is now, her job is in jeopardy. I would imagine that next year there could be some reshuffling, maybe.
Interesting.
She had no plan for this franchise or for this universe. Like, she's embarrassed herself, like, every step of the way. And every success she's had has barely been
First
earned.
let me just ask, before we get started, did anyone, like, is anyone going to give this, like, a positive thing going on here? Any positive,
spoiler alert.
Okay,
You'll just have to see.
I just want to warn Lodgecast listeners, if they love this movie,
you don't have to coddle them.
I just don't want to. Okay.
They know what to expect. They know to expect it hot, and they know to expect it fresh.
I can't imagine anyone within the sound of my voice right now had a positive take on this film.
Okay.
At best, it's okay.
Okay.
Especially the film aficionados that would be listening to this right now.
Yeah.
It's a subtle dig at Brother Zach, and I love it. So Lucas, I sense some extreme disdain in your voice. Let's
just start with the opening title, right? It's called Solo, right? It's called Solo.
Nailed it right off the bat.
And it opens with him with someone, right? So he's not exactly alone. And then after that, he gets paired up with Chewbacca. And then after that, he kind of finds like a surrogate family. I'm thinking, is the only scene where this motherfucker's by himself when he's checking in to the Imperial Army and he gets a stupid-ass fucking name in the most embarrassingly clunky way imaginable? Is that really the only scene where he's quote-unquote solo?
We're getting ahead of ourselves here. Lucas, I like your take on the title sequence, like the titles. How they didn't do the scroll, but they did a little...
Oh, right. They did like a cheat. Like, for some reason, Kathleen Kennedy and her brain trust was like, we're only going to have the yellow scroll for only the proper, like, chapter
But don't you think that's
films.
a good thing?
I want to see that.
No, but don't put any text in front of it.
Yeah, then just fucking open up.
They have to establish a little something. But I would say that the opening, the title shot was very anticlimactic. I mean, they barely tried. It was a pan-up of Corellia. He goes pie in a speeder, and then it's instantly Solo. The title comes up. I mean, there's no fanfare, no build-up.
No, very little. It's flat.
It's just let's get this over with.
Yeah, yes. There's no heart or soul in the movie. And I thought what really bothered me is for a character that is known to take risks, the movie takes zero risks at all. Like there's nothing new or exciting or interesting. Like,
Well, I think when it started and he was like in the beginning of the movie, he was in front of a Jabba-esque crime boss called Lady Proxima.
There you go.
She's kind of in the shadows. She's this slug lady with some jewelry. And there's a bit where he says that he's holding a thermal detonator. and it's just a rock.
Callbacks.
And she's like, no, it's not. It's just a rock. And you made a clicking noise with your mouth. And I thought, okay, Lord and Miller have at least some... There's some DNA
You think that
in
was
this
them?
movie.
You think that was...
That was all them. Ron
stain?
Howard did not come up with any of that.
Okay.
I can see that.
So
I agree, yeah.
I think at that point I was still a little optimistic. I'm like, okay, this might get funny. This might have some charm.
Mm-hmm.
And then, to the best of my ability, I think that's the last of their kind of sensibility that I really detected, aside from maybe when Han meets Chewbacca and he tries to speak Wookiee.
Okay.
There was a little bit of humor there.
Yeah, yeah.
But it
The
didn't
rest of
fulfill it, yeah.
No, I mean, there very little humor.
Yeah. I did think the opening was a little there was not much fanfare. Which, fine, you're trying to be gritty, you're trying to be street level, you know?
It's really dark and underlit, too.
But-
I know it's moody, but...
But I was
Yeah.
with it. I was with it when they got separated. He and Emilia Clarke, what's her name in this?
Kira.
When they get separated at the checkpoint, I'm like, okay, so it's going to be a rescue movie. But those aren't really in vogue right now because it's like you don't want to just have to rescue the lady.
Yeah.
But that's what they set up, and that's what the cool stakes felt like to me. And then she's just at a party. And they see each other, and it's kind of like...
There's a lot of those moments. Like, a lot of
kinda
contrived.
like,
Like Justin said, let's move it along. Let's keep it going. Like, oh, this just happens. And, like, okay.
Like that, they fucked that up. Like, that could have been a very emotional scene, but it's kind of like, hey,
Yeah.
what are you doing here?
Well, it really felt like there was a checklist.
Yeah.
We have a couple
We
bullet points that people know about Han Solo's backstory. We gotta hit him. We gotta see the Sabbath game where he wins the Falcon from
Sure.
Lando. We gotta see the Kessel Run.
Anything from the lore, yeah.
I mean, we get to learn all the answers to the questions we never asked. Like, how did Han get his last name? How did he get his blaster? How did he get the golden dice? How did Chewbacca get his nickname?
There's like
how
seven-
did
there's like
Billy D pronounce Han?
like
Han?
76 things
How
that
did
paid
the
off.
Falcon get its peculiar dialect? And why is the Falcon referred to as a she? How did the rebellion start? Why did Han shoot Greedo first? How did Han win the Millennium Falcon fair and square? What happened to Darth Maul after he got cut in half in the Phantom Menace? So anyway, a lot of questions answered, and I didn't ask.
But just going to, like, his name, for instance, that scene, I think, like, I get what you're going for, but you can do it better. Like, you're doing the most half-assed execution of it. So, like, why not have him say, like, name, and he's like, Solo, what kind of name is that? Mine. Who are your people? Me. Boom, move along. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
not like this clunky, like, let's just call you Don Corleone.
Yeah.
And it's
I
like,
have a
fuck
theory
you.
with that scene in particular.
Getting heated back
because
there.
It was like Ellis Island.
There
Okay, go
are
ahead.
moments in 21 Jump Street, which I thoroughly enjoyed. It's an R-rated comedy, where scenes get cut abruptly for comedic effect. And I would venture if Lord Miller got to finish this movie, that scene would have ended abruptly. The guy saying, "What's your last name?" And he says, "I don't have one." And then the guy, like, stamps something, and then
Yeah, gets
It's
an
just implied that the
idea
guy
and then
said
stamps.
Solo. And then we get, Kathleen Kennedy involved. We get Ron Howard. They're saying, listen, we can't leave anything to chance. We have to say what we mean because we can't leave anything ambiguous.
It feels like we're about to start a lock her up chant for Kathleen Kennedy in this film.
Well, dude, I feel she needs to be responsible because in 3 short movies or years, she's completely diluted like a lifetime of IP. Like, I am officially like not excited to see any more of these installments at all.
I'm not for
like this
I don't
shit.
buy
This shit
that.
is
I don't
like
buy
is
that.
lousy. It is
You guys
lousy.
will
Rogue
simmer
One,
down.
she
No,
like
no,
barely
I'm
pulled
gonna
out
see
of the
'em
fire
all
with Tony
till I
Gilroy,
die.
You're
and that's
just-
like my 3rd favorite after the original trilogy. But come on, like.
You just don't have that boner that you used to.
No, it's because it needs anticipation. It needs
It does.
a build-up. And when you get
That's not allowed
when
nowadays.
you get one every year,
Every
it
6
becomes
months.
less special.
They
And
think
it gets diluted no matter what. And there's no chance that you can have a great entry that people will want to watch in 20 years when you crank them out.
This is not the Marvel universe where you have all these different characters and there's no consequences. Like, there's consequences to Star Wars movies, and you gotta build anticipation. You can't,
Well, look, just what they presented and served up, which I felt was, they had the right ingredients, but it was ill-prepared and undercooked.
Felt like a student feature.
Well, no. Like, if you're gonna make a movie where I had no idea what to expect going in, but once I realized, like, oh, we're gonna see the Kessel Run, well, it better top the shit in Mad Max Fury Road, because if you're not gonna show me anything crazier than that, then you should get the fuck out of my face. And what do you remember from that Kessel Run? Them circling the drain like of a toilet with an octopus with like lightning coming out of its tentacles. Like the biggest jack-off thing I'd ever seen in my life. I could smell John Peters, fucking with his spider like robot from Wild Wild West and that. Like, spider. Good God, that was embarrassing.
That was very underwhelming, and it has a moment where Star Wars delves into some Black Mirror shit, and it is completely painted over immediately and not addressed.
What was that?
They took a sentient robot, which was not only sentient, but all jazzed on robot rights, starting a revolution.
L3.
L3, is that the name?
Yeah,
L337.
It
the voluptuous,
played
plus
by
size.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge, in parentheses, Fleabag.
It should have been L7, like the rock band, but anyway.
Anyway, so they take this droid who's all hopped up on like civil rights for her kind,
Yep.
and take her and just put her in a machine that only communicates with other machines.
Yep.
And seemingly she cannot just be transferred out of the Falcon into another body or another consciousness.
No.
She's now
uploaded.
only
She's
they've
a
turned her
cog in
into
the wheel.
They've turned her into Google Maps.
Yeah. So,
And
and
then
she
it
can't
just-
have any opinions.
And then it's just that's it. It's a throwaway line that informs a scene in The Empire Strikes Back where C-3PO says, "Where did your ship learn to communicate? It has the most peculiar dialect." And it's because it's its own character.
Right.
But that's horrifying. That's something that can
is
think
like
for
Black
itself
Mirror.
is
Yeah,
then
yeah.
your car's navigation computer
Is alive.
And there was a scene where it was implied that she could have sexual relationships with other people.
With Lando.
Which has
More
never,
than-
sexual Lando.
Which has never been addressed.
More than implied.
I think more than implied. Lando was mourning over her
Yeah.
quite a bit. I think they did have sexual relations.
They were
And to just
fucking.
essentially plug her into the Millennium Falcon and just be like, hey, how do we get out of here?
It's a weird move.
I'm gonna say L3 was worse than Jar Jar Binks, and that's
a hot
bold.
take.
That's a hot take
That's
right
a hot
there.
take.
No way. That's ludicrous.
L3.
She was at least a little funny. Like when she was freeing all the other
Jar Jar-
When
droids
she
and-
screams equal rights when Lando asks what she needs, there was groans in the theater. Like it was, yeah.
But Jar Jar, man.
no, I know Jar Jar's really bad.
Jar
but
Jar doesn't even have the jokes.
I've got a fondness to him now.
I know. You've always had
People want equal rights?
Yeah. He didn't even know to ask for that.
It's true. It's true.
Well,
What do we think of the casting?
mean,
what do we think of
My problem with the casting is like Emilia Clarke is too light in the loafers, and like opposite Alden Ehrenreich, is like it was weaponized blandness. Like I was trying to stay awake because the two of them didn't have any chemistry at all together, and I'm thinking you got someone like
Weaponized
you got someone like Thandie Newton who's actually good, and you're just gonna completely underutilize her and then waste her.
She blows
Which, by the
herself
way,
up.
She blows.
by the way, the ending scene like doesn't really work because Thandie Newton's not alive to witness it happen. So like that right there kind of solidifies and proves to me they don't know what the fuck they're doing with their shit.
Oof.
Yeah, I mean, she was sacrificed
Hey,
to
Lucas.
to the plot?
for a whole lot of nothing, really.
Yeah, yeah.
And then when Jon Favreau's multi-armed monkey
Who
alien
cares?
died,
Who
it
cares?
was really hard to feel anything.
Lock him up.
What do we think of Donald Glover?
He's the highlight. I mean, to me,
Yeah,
he
for sure.
barely salvages it. Like they gave him the cape, which I thought was like the overdoing it. I'm like, well, we don't really need to have that explained for
We gotta-
fucking Empire, but of course we've got to fucking explain it. Put it on the list.
I gotta
Yeah,
say though,
Lance-
him having a cape room in the Falcon was pretty legit. I think that gives him a little bit of style.
But they didn't give him a moment. They didn't give him like one moment where like, yeah,
Well, he wasn't in it that much.
No, I know, but like he should have had. I'm not saying he's a hero. Like I know he's a scoundrel or whatever, but like give him one fucking moment. Like I don't remember one moment besides the card game, which was irrelevant anyway. I'm talking like in the service of the plot, like
Yeah.
in a
He,
set
he
piece,
goes
like in a
back
scene.
to save his droid, which is
I thought he-
uncharacteristically heroic for the scoundrel character, but it's not enough.
Yeah, I thought he was kind of doing an impression. What do we think of Alden
Aaron?
Ehrenreich? I thought
pretty bland.
I thought he was okay. I thought because he wasn't doing like a Harrison Ford impression.
I thought he was.
You thought he was?
Yeah, that was my main takeaway. I'm like, pretty good.
Because I thought Donald Glover was doing more of a Billy D.
They were
impression.
both.
They were both.
I guess they were both.
They were both
doing it,
mimicking their mannerisms and gestures for sure. I mean, look, Alden, like I thought, looked the part in certain moments, but he wasn't given clear direction or an arc. So he played it one note from opening till close, and he's too short. So it's like, they should have cast what's his name from like Baby Driver or something? Maybe him. I don't know.
Wasn't he? It was going to be him or the other guy. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Well, I was getting vibes from Alden that were, I don't know. Narducci has not seen the film yet, but I want to see what Narducci, resident bad boy of the lodge, Narducci thinks of it, because I feel like it's Narducci up there on the screen when I see Alden Ehrenreich.
Sure.
When he's laughing, smiling. His mannerisms, not necessarily his looks, but he has
his heroism.
Now, I want to get you guys' take on, this is something that means a lot to me as someone who used to collect Star Wars action figures, which is Star Wars names. Now, this movie has both the most ambitious new Star Wars name and the least ambitious. Least ambitious being Woody Harrelson's Tobias Beckett. Who the fuck calls a Star Wars character Tobias?
It's pretty bad.
Sounds like a poet.
Yeah. Most ambitious goes to Therm Scissor Punch.
Oh,
who was at the card table when they were playing.
Therm Scissor Punch.
Tentacle-faced alien.
Okay.
Therm Scissor Punch.
Wow.
Scissor Punch is spelled as you would expect?
As you would expect.
Okay.
It was outed as a character name by some Denny's trading cards.
Oh, I love that.
Promotional
Dude,
item.
I love how those fill in the
love
blanks,
that.
like that you gotta piece it together.
Thank you, Denny's.
Like a puzzle, yeah.
And they tried very hard to wedge in some Rogue One action.
I saw some familiar faces, I thought.
That character's name is Two Tubes.
That makes
which
sense.
Is almost Star Wars.
Two Tubes.
Close. Two Tubes.
Okay.
He was in Rogue One. But I thought they were going to have a little more because they're doing this universe building, and it's about the same era. It takes place a little bit before Rogue One, obviously.
Until Darth Maul shows up and we don't know what's going on. No, we know what's going on if we follow the Clone Wars.
If you read the books or
and
whatever.
if you read the books and
that didn't make any sense to me. I was confused when I saw
that. That threw a wrench in a lot of people's minds. But I knew from watching Clone Wars a little bit that Darth Maul survived when he got cut in half at the end of Episode 1. Was given robotic legs, and he's also it's building up for what? Obi-Wan movie coming up in a couple years.
That's a hot take right there.
I can see that, but it just in the theater, at least the audience I saw with, they kind of groaned at the Darth Maul thing, and it was almost like a boo hiss. Like it was just so random, and again, not fucking dramatic. Like so, she checks in with him, but like the movie's over at that point. It doesn't contribute at all to the story. It's devoid of tension. It's just like fuck, man.
Well, and I think there's some hubris on display in that. This is written as movie 1 of 3.
Yeah, right,
so they held back because if you know that you're going to get one shot at making a Han Solo Star Wars prequel, you put in Boba Fett, you put in Jabba the Hutt, you don't leave anything to chance.
Yeah.
And they didn't do it. They teased Jabba at the very end.
It's because they're taking us for granted.
Slightly. And they were just like, listen, you're in for this. You're going to watch all of them. Fuck you.
Yeah.
We're going to just dole it out slowly. And it kind of failed.
Yeah.
I think they're going to go with Obi-Wan. They're going to do Boba Fett. And after that,
they'll do a Lando movie.
They'll do a Lando movie, but then they're going to have to take a break. Because people are going to start
long break.
not giving a shit.
But by the time it's
soon.
Lando, it's going to be like Lando owns like a space football team or something. It's going to be kind of like Ragnarok. He'll be on his own not so deep mission. Who knows? So, are there any other factoids floating around, or should we go to the bones on this one?
Yeah, I'll just say my final thought is, I mean, to me, the most interesting part of Han's story was ironically his like Full Metal Jacket induction into the Imperial Army. And what do? Jump cut 3 years later. Fuck you, audience. Like, we're not showing you shit. And then all of a sudden he's like on a battlefield, like, pitching himself to this surrogate family, and they sell him out. And he fucking like, he's like a puppy dog. He's like, oh, they betrayed my trust. That's okay. Like, I'll still go after him. It's like, what? Like, this doesn't make any sense at all to me. Like,
did you want a Han Solo basic training
Yeah, maybe that's like the first act or whatever, and he gets disillusioned, or he like carpet bombs a bunch of innocent civilians. Like, I don't know, but explain to me why he's like so jaded and cynical. And yeah, when he gets his blaster, like, wouldn't it have been cooler if he killed some alien and took it off the alien's dead fucking body that maybe kind of looks similar to Guido, so it was ironic years later, as opposed to him just getting it handed to him?
Yeah,
you know, it's just like flat, stupid shit like that. And I'm thinking, it's not the seat of my pants how I could spice this up and make it better. Like, sell the sizzle, motherfuckers. Give me some steak.
You got a universe, work with it. Like,
Did Guido shoot first? What's your bone count, Lucas?
Well,
cap it off.
I give it just 2 because...
And he gives it 2.
Well, no, I
He
mean,
fucking carpet bomb.
I gives it 2 because, you know, it's got Donald Glover, you know, it's got him killing, you know, Woody Harrelson, which is what I was hoping. I just wish they had done it better.
You're pulling your punch, dog.
And the train sequence. No, I mean, it's like, it's lazy, it's uninspired, you know, but fuck, like, they got Alden Ehrenreich in it, and, you know, I didn't mind him so much, but
all right.
I just wish it was like a better movie.
You're begrudgingly giving it some props.
Yeah.
Wow, I did not expect it to. I thought you were going full rage-a-hall on it. That's nice to hear. Mr. Bishke.
Well, I've got a lot more to say about the film, but I'm not going to. If you wanted to consult with me personally about the plot of the
Sidebar.
film, I'm open for discussions.
This is a good point to say, too, like, Facebook, if you have any thoughts about any of these episodes, we are ready to talk to you about it. So engage upon us, and we will expand upon or...
Please engage. I want to talk about the freckled girl on the planet Valor.
Yeah, what do you want
I want to talk about
Enfinn's Nest.
I want to talk about coaxium with you. I want to talk about Sabak. So if you could please just
Bishke's available to talk Sabak.
Anyway,
With you.
I'll say good production design, dark cinematography, generic score by John Powell. Ron Howard's direction was non-existent.
Whoa.
And I did not think I'd say this about a Star Wars movie in my lifetime, but this is worse than a prequel. This is worse than a prequel. This is worse than episode 3. One bone.
I think at the end of this podcast, it will mark the year of my life that I've spent straight talking about Star Wars. I think if you put it all together,
Yeah.
I've spent 1 year of my 37 years talking about Star Wars.
Yes.
I give it 1 bone.
And
And I do so because I'm grading on a curve here because
that's fair.
you have a beloved property that people already want to love. It's
Right.
you make a movie, people already want to love your movie. It's a character everyone already wants to love. You have the money, you have the cast, you can do whatever you want with those guidelines. And to come up with something so unextraordinary it really just hurts.
It's not
to
acceptable.
know that happens, and there is no room in my life for mediocre Star Wars.
Boom. I love it. I'm not grading on a curve. Ever since... Justin, what was the first Star Wars movie we saw together? Was it episode 2?
Episode 2.
Ever since that diner scene and that wacky CG alien walked
I'll
in...
never forget it because you scratched my arm really hard.
That's when I've completely...
Dexter Jetster.
Oh, God, no. That's when my expectations flew forcibly out all windows and exits. So I go into Star Wars movies just looking for a good time. I found it with this. I thought the storyline zigged when it should have zagged at that one fork in the road, but I'm going to give it 2.5. I had a good time. It's fine, and I understand that that's not... It shouldn't be acceptable because they have all the money and all the toys and all the resources.
I mean, sometimes you just want to play cards with Therm Scissor Punch and just have a good time.
Yeah.
I hope to live 60 more years, so I want 30 more episodes. I'll go to every single one of them.
Okay.
Every other year for the rest of my life.
This is like my Tyler Perry pledge.
And I will be there. I will give you my money, Kathleen, because you'll be there with me.
You're going to show up.
And I can't wait for episode 50 when I die.
She fired a friend of ours, so I'll never forgive her for that. But other than that,
Yeah, she's a controversial figure in the Star Wars universe. They should make an action figure. That's our Han Solo Star Wars story hot take for you.
Yeah, it was a little lukewarm because we had a week to sit on it, and I don't really care anymore. But
Yeah, it ages like strange imported cheese that you didn't know you had to refrigerate. But we will be back with you with another sizzling hot take or another engaging episode. And
June is really heating up. I'm very
To the next episode.
we got some crazy stuff coming up in June. We're gonna have an overflowing bounty of goodies for you. We're just gonna keep serving them up.